Humanity had been cast out. The Galactic Council had spoken, and their decision was final. One voice after another had judged humans as reckless, unpredictable, dangerous. They were no longer welcome in the core systems, no longer allowed to participate in interstellar trade or diplomacy. Humans were exiled to the edge of the galaxy, to dark, cold worlds where survival was a challenge, and the only law was that of nature itself. Captain Alara Tanis stood on the bridge of the small transport vessel Pioneer, staring at the barren world below. The planet's surface was jagged, with rocky mountains and frozen plains stretching to the horizon. Winds howled through canyons, and the sky was a permanent shade of gray. It was beautiful in a cruel way, perfect for punishment. "We've arrived," said her first officer, Jarek, his voice tense. "This is our new home." Alara didn't speak. She had already known this day would come. She had already known that humans would be judged harshly, simply for being human. She had grown up on a world where ambition was praised, where curiosity often led to danger, and where humans were resilient beyond measure. The Council had seen only what they feared: strength without patience, will without compromise. The Pioneer touched down on the icy surface with a shudder. Alara watched as the crew disembarked. Families, scientists, engineers, and soldiers, all exiled. The Council had tried to humiliate them, scattering them across unwelcoming planets, hoping hunger, cold, and isolation would break their spirit. But they underestimated humans. Within hours, the crew set up shelters, cleared snow from landing zones, and began inventorying supplies. There was no whining, no despair that lasted beyond the first hour. Humans worked, humans adapted, humans survived. "We'll need to find water fast," Jarek said, scanning the barren land with a sensor. "And food. The soil is frozen solid. No crops can grow here yet." Alara nodded. "Then we'll use what we have. We always do. That's why we survived before, and we'll survive here too." The first week was brutal. Winds ripped across their encampments, freezing fingers and faces despite layered suits. Supplies were limited. Food rations were meager. Engineers worked day and night to make the cold shelters habitable. Children learned quickly to bundle themselves, to share warmth, to endure. And every night, humans gathered to talk quietly about the Council, about the unfairness of exile, about the future they refused to lose. "Do you think they know what they've done?" asked Lyra, a young engineer, her eyes bright despite the frost on her cheeks. "Exiling us? Sending us to die?" "They think they know," Alara replied. "But they don't. Humans are not easily broken. They've never known what we're capable of. Not yet." Weeks turned into months. The colony slowly grew. Shelters expanded, water was piped from underground reservoirs, and basic crops began to grow in controlled hydroponic chambers. Humans began to reclaim the planet, not because it was easy, but because they refused to accept defeat. Every challenge they faced only strengthened their resolve. And in the shadows, Alara began work on something no one outside the colony could imagine: the Resolute. It was a dream, an idea, whispered only among a trusted few. Humanity needed more than survival. They needed a way to show the galaxy that they were not weak, that they could not be silenced or dismissed. The Council had tried to strip them of their dignity, but humans would reclaim it. One day the Resolute would sail beyond the exiled systems, a testament to human ingenuity and courage. The construction began with scrap salvaged from old freighters, abandoned mining vessels, and derelict military crafts left behind by fleeing alien miners. Human engineers adapted engines that were decades old, fused alien technology with human design, and innovated in ways no one else could imagine. Every bolt, every circuit, every piece of the ship was a statement. Humans were capable of creation, beyond simple survival. But the work had to remain secret. A single leak, a single spy, and the Council would intervene. Alien observers patrolled the sector, eager to confirm humanity's weakness. They would find none. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the icy mountains, Alara walked among the construction teams, Sparks flew from welding torches and the hum of machinery echoed through the valley. Workers paused to greet her, but no one spoke of fear. Everyone knew what they were building was more than a ship. It was a promise. "Captain," Jarek said, approaching her with a nervous grin, "I never thought I'd see humans working like this. Not for survival, but for something greater. Something no one else will believe until they see it." Ilara smiled faintly. "They will believe. One day they will see, one ship, one human crew, they will remember us forever." Children who were old enough to understand were brought into the process in small ways. Some helped with minor engineering tasks. Others learned navigation or communications. The colony was teaching a new generation what it meant to be human. Resourceful, brave, and unyielding. Even in exile, even in freezing wastelands, humans found reasons to hope. They shared stories of Earth, of deserts, oceans, and forests. They shared tales of wars fought and won, of inventions that changed lives, of explorers who crossed unthinkable distances. Each story reminded them that humanity had always been underestimated, and yet had always triumphed. The first challenge came sooner than expected. A patrol ship from a nearby alien system appeared near the outskirts of the colony. It scanned the planet, sending signals into space. Humans froze for a moment. If the aliens discovered their work, it could all be destroyed. Ilara stepped forward. "We are not afraid," she said quietly. "We survive, we endure, and we create. That is who we are." Jarek nodded. "Shall we hide the work?" "No. Let them see if they must. Let them underestimate us. That is their mistake." The patrol moved on, scanning, probing, but finding nothing. Humans had learned to blend with their environment, to adapt in ways the aliens could not predict. The Resolute's construction continued, now faster than ever. Every day humans grew stronger, not just in body but in spirit. They were forging more than a ship. They were forging a future. Months turned into years. The colony thrived against all odds. Children grew into skilled engineers and pilots. Adults shared knowledge, trained and prepared. Humans studied the galaxy, learning its rules, its weaknesses, and its strengths. And every night, under the cold light of distant stars, Ilara would stand on a ridge, looking at the partially completed Dreadnought. Its hull gleamed faintly beneath. The moons and its engines were beginning to hum with power. She whispered to the night, to the universe itself. "We were exiled. We were cast out. But we are not defeated. Humanity survives. Humanity endures. And one day, they will remember what it means to face us." The Resolute was humanity's first step toward redemption. It was a symbol of hope, a beacon of resilience, and a warning to the galaxy. Underestimate humans at your own peril. For now, the exiles were safe. The planet was harsh, but the colony had learned to thrive. The patrols continued to pass, but no one suspected the growing force hidden in the icy valleys. Humans were quiet, patient, and relentless. They were building a future that no council could banish, no alien army could destroy. The cold planet had grown familiar to humanity, but the vast emptiness of space still called to them. Years had passed since their exile, and the colony had flourished against impossible odds. Under Ilara's leadership, humans had built schools, farms, and workshops, but most importantly, they had built the Resolute. The Dreadnought sat in the valley like a sleeping giant. Its hull was smooth and dark, polished with human ingenuity and layered with salvaged alien alloys. Engineers had spent years perfecting its engines, testing propulsion systems, and refining its weapons. Every corner of the ship reflected human creativity, technology fused with imagination, unconventional solutions that no alien engineer could foresee. Ilara walked through the hangar, watching crews make final adjustments. The air hummed with energy, power cores glowed faintly, and the first test runs of the ship's engines produced a deep, steady pulse. The Resolute was ready. "Status report," she said, stopping near the main engine assembly. "Engines at full capacity," Jarek replied. "Weapon systems are online. Shields are holding at maximum. The ship is ready for operational testing. Ilara nodded. She felt a surge of pride, but also a heavy weight. This was no ordinary ship. It was humanity's first step toward proving themselves, toward reclaiming dignity from the Council. If the Dreadnought failed, humanity might remain exiled forever. But if it succeeded, a new chapter would begin. The first test mission was simple. Travel beyond the planet's orbit, check engine performance, test navigational systems, and return safely. The crew, all handpicked from the best of the colony, prepared for launch. Every officer knew their role, every engineer understood the systems, every pilot had trained for months. As the ship lifted off the icy surface, the ground trembled. Humans cheered quietly inside the hangar, not for spectacle but for survival, for achievement, for the knowledge that they were capable of more than exile could imagine. In orbit, the Dreadnought roared through space. Its engines left faint blue, trails against the void, and sensors scanned nearby star systems. The crew was alert, disciplined, and ready. "Navigation online," said Lieutenant Mara, the chief navigator. "Course plotted for the outer rim, all systems nominal." Ilara stood on the bridge, staring at the stars. She felt a rare sense of calm. For once, humanity was in control of its destiny. The first challenge arrived sooner than expected. A scout patrol from a neighboring alien system entered the human-controlled sector. The Council's spies were still underestimating humans, assuming that exiles could not rebuild advanced ships or train elite crews. The aliens thought they would find a weak colony, an easy target. They were wrong. "Contact," Mara said, pointing at the screen. "Unknown vessel approaching at high speed, likely a patrol." Ilara nodded. "Raise shields. Do not engage unless necessary. Let's see what they think they found." The alien ship appeared on the sensors, sleek, sharp, and deadly looking. It was faster than anything humanity had in the colony, armed with energy weapons capable of tearing through hulls. But the humans had one advantage: creativity. They had learned to adapt in ways the aliens had never expected. The aliens sent a signal, demanding the humans identify themselves. Jarek intercepted and decoded the message. "They're asking who we are, and why we are in this sector." Ilara's lips curved into a faint smile. "Tell them we are what they underestimated. That's enough for now." The alien patrol moved closer, scanning the Resolute. They were cautious but arrogant, confident that a single exiled ship could never match their technology. Ilara made her decision. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Do not fire unless fired upon. And remember, we fight smart, not blindly." The first engagement began like a dance. The aliens fired, expecting an easy strike. But the Resolute's shields absorbed the impact, while the ship twisted in unpredictable patterns. Humans had designed a navigation system that relied on calculated chaos, randomized yet controlled movements that made it almost impossible to hit. Jarek directed the engines with precision. Left 30 degrees, upward thrust, divert power to front shields. The alien weapons missed by meters. Sensors displayed damage on their hull from tiny plasma bursts from the Resolute, strategically aimed at weak points discovered through careful observation. "Engage weapons," Ilara ordered. "Do not destroy them. Disable. Show them what humans can do." The Dreadnought's cannons fired in calculated bursts. Alien engines sparked, weapon systems overloaded, and shields flickered. Within minutes, the patrol ship was crippled. It drifted in space, powerless but intact. The humans had won, not by raw force but by strategy, coordination, and ingenuity. The alien crew stared in disbelief. They had assumed humans were reckless and simple. They had underestimated the ability to think differently, to innovate under pressure. "Report," Mara said. "They're hailing us." Ilara nodded. "Put it through." The alien captain's voice was sharp, filled with confusion and fear. What are you? You are not supposed to exist like this. You defeated us." Ilara's voice was calm, steady, and firm. "We are human. We survive. We endure. We fight only when necessary. Remember us, for we are underestimated at your own peril." The alien ship floated silently, unable to respond. Then, with a final burst of propulsion, it retreated into the distance, leaving humans alone in the void. The bridge erupted in quiet applause. Alara allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had taken its first step. The Dreadnought had proven that exiles were not weak, that humans could survive, and that they could fight with precision and intelligence. Set course back to the colony, Alara ordered. We have shown the galaxy a glimpse of our strength, but this is only the beginning. As the Resolute traveled home, humans on the bridge reflected on what had just happened. They were a species underestimated, cast out, and dismissed. Yet here they were, victorious, not through sheer aggression but through creativity, resilience, and unity. Every officer, every engineer, every pilot understood the truth. Humans had something no other species could replicate: the ability to adapt, to learn, to endure against impossible odds. Back on the colony, news of the Dreadnought's success spread quickly. Children whispered excitedly, adults smiled proudly, and the exiled humans felt a surge of hope that had been missing for decades. Humanity was no longer just surviving. Humanity was beginning to rise. Alara returned to the command center to send reports to the Colony Council. The message was simple but powerful. We are ready. Humanity survives. Humanity endures. Humanity fights differently. The Dreadnought would become a symbol, a spearhead for humanity's return to the galaxy. But the Resolute was not just a weapon. It was a declaration. Humans would no longer be dismissed, humiliated, or exiled. They would reclaim their place, and they would do so on their own terms. Even as the patrol retreated, Alara knew that this encounter was only the beginning. The Galactic Council would notice, rumors would spread, and other species would start to rethink their assumptions about humanity. Some would fear them, some would respect them, but all would know one undeniable truth. Humans were not weak. Humans were unpredictable, brilliant, and unstoppable when united, and the Resolute would lead the way. As stars passed by the windows of the Dreadnought, Alara stood silently. She thought of Earth, of the exiled colonies, of every human who had survived the harshness of exile. She thought of the battles ahead, the challenges that would test humanity in ways they could not yet imagine. But she also knew this: no matter the challenge, no matter the odds, humans would endure. They had survived exile. They had built the Resolute. And they had struck the first blow that would echo across the galaxy. The Dreadnought's engines hummed steadily, carrying humanity toward a future that no one, not the Council, not alien, empires, not fate itself, could control. Humanity was awake, humanity was ready, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The news traveled faster than any human ship could. Across the outer rim, whispers became rumors and rumors became panic. Humanity, exiled and underestimated, had struck first. One Dreadnought, the Resolute, had crippled a Galactic Council patrol. With skill, precision, and ingenuity, the Council's delegates met in urgent sessions, their chambers buzzing with unease. "We cannot ignore this," said Chancellor Varos, a sleek-winged alien from the Kralin system. His voice trembled slightly. "A single human vessel has demonstrated the ability to outmaneuver and destroy our patrols. They are no longer a threat we can dismiss." "Perhaps it was a fluke," argued Delegate Tirok of the Valari. "Exiles operating on the edge of space. They have no fleet, no resources. Surely this cannot happen again." Varos shook his head. "It is no fluke. They are clever, unpredictable, and ruthless in strategy. If we do not act now, they will grow stronger. By the time we are ready, it will be too late." Meanwhile, in the cold outer rim, Alara Tanis and her crew were already planning their next moves. Humanity had tasted its first victory, but there was no room for complacency. Every patrol in the sector, every alien scout that passed too close was a potential threat. And yet, they felt the first glimmer of hope that their exile could be turned into something greater. "Captain," said Jarek, his eyes scanning the holographic display of nearby star systems. Council fleets are mobilizing. Reports show multiple warships gathering near the boundary sectors. They want to crush us before we grow stronger. Ilara frowned. Then we will strike first, not recklessly, but strategically. Let them learn that humans are not to be underestimated. The Resolute's next mission was audacious. The crew would raid a small but critical council outpost located in a sparsely defended system. Its communications hub transmitted messages across the rim, coordinating patrols and resource shipments. If humans disabled it, the Council's reach in this sector would falter, even temporarily. Mara plotted the course. The system is lightly defended. Sensors detect 3 patrol ships and a station shield, but the defenses are oriented outward, assuming no one could approach stealthily from the asteroid field. Good, Ilara said. We'll use that to our advantage. As they approached the system, the crew executed the plan with precision. The Resolute moved through the asteroid field, using the natural cover to mask its energy signatures. Alien sensors failed to detect the Dreadnought until it was almost in striking range. Prepare for approach, Ilara ordered. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we leave no trace of our weakness. The battle began silently. The Dreadnought fired small, precise bursts at the station's shield generators. Alien sensors screamed alarms, but the humans were already retreating, back into the cover of asteroids out of reach. The station's shields faltered. Another strike from the Resolute disabled communications satellites, cutting the outpost off from reinforcements. This is incredible, whispered Jarek. They're panicking already. Ilara allowed herself a small smile. They should. Humans fight differently. We adapt. We calculate. We endure. The alien patrol ships responded, moving to intercept. But humans anticipated their movements. The Resolute twisted and turned, engines flaring unpredictably, launching decoys and jamming pulses. Within minutes, 2 patrol ships were disabled, their engines fried by precise shots to vulnerable systems. The remaining ship retreated, leaving the outpost crippled and isolated. Across the galaxy, Council delegates reacted in disbelief. Communications from the outpost trickled back. The humans had attacked swiftly, disabled vital systems, and disappeared before a proper response could be mounted. Panic spread like wildfire. Are you certain it was only one Dreadnought? Asked Delegate Vorn of the Quarry. His tentacles twitched nervously. I am certain, Varos replied grimly. And it was operated by humans. They have demonstrated capability, coordination, and cunning. They are no longer a minor annoyance. They are a threat that cannot be ignored. Back on the Dreadnought, Ilara surveyed the aftermath of the raid. The crew moved efficiently, repairing minor damage and recharging systems. There was no celebration, only quiet satisfaction. Humans were not driven by arrogance. They were driven by survival, honor, and the need to prove themselves. We've sent a message, Mara reported. The outpost is disabled. Reinforcements will not arrive for days. We've achieved our objective without unnecessary destruction. Ilara nodded. Good. Humanity is not here to destroy for the sake of destruction. We are here to survive, to endure, and to be recognized. Let the Council see that. For the first time since their exile, humans felt the shift. The galaxy had underestimated them, and now it was beginning to fear them. And fear, when paired with respect, was powerful. News of the raid reached other exiled colonies. Humans across the outer rim felt a surge of hope. Letters, messages, and transmissions spoke of courage, ingenuity, and pride. The Dreadnought had not only struck the Council, it had inspired humanity itself. Ilara walked through the ship's corridors, watching her crew. They moved with quiet confidence, knowing they had done something remarkable. Each engineer, pilot, and officer had contributed to the mission's success. The Dreadnought was not just a ship, it was humanity's spirit made solid, its ingenuity given form. Captain, Jarek said, joining her, do you think they will retaliate soon? They will try, Ilara replied. But humans are not unprepared. We've learned patience, strategy, and cunning. The Council may think they can crush us, but they will find that humans are resilient. Indeed, Retaliation came faster than expected. Alien fleets moved toward human-controlled systems, hoping to catch them off guard. But humans were ready. The Resolute led defensive operations, using tactics that the aliens could not predict. Mines hidden in asteroid fields, deceptive energy, signatures, and rapid, precise strikes allowed humans to defend their colonies without heavy losses. One skirmish was particularly telling. A fleet of 5 alien ships approached a human settlement. The humans, anticipating the move, drew them into a trap. Using the Resolute's superior maneuverability and human ingenuity, they disabled 3 ships within minutes. The remaining 2 retreated in confusion, leaving the settlement intact and the humans victorious. "This is more than survival," said Mara. "We are proving ourselves to the galaxy. And not through brute force, but through brains and courage." Ilara nodded. "Exactly. That is what makes us human. We endure, we adapt, and we fight differently. That is our strength." Meanwhile, panic continued to ripple through the Galactic Council. Delegates debated furiously, unable to agree on a strategy. Some urged immediate annihilation, fearing the growing human threat. Others suggested negotiation, realizing that humans were more than a nuisance. They were a force to be reckoned with. "Perhaps we should communicate with them?" asked Delegate Tirok, his voice uncertain. Varos slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Communicate? Do you think they will listen to us? They are clever, resourceful, and they fight smart. If we delay, they will only grow stronger. Humans are not a species you reason with. They are a species you respect. And right now, we have not earned that respect. Not yet." In the Resolute, humans did not seek revenge or conquest. They sought survival, dignity, and recognition. Each mission, each calculated strike, reinforced their reputation as a species that could not be ignored. As the Dreadnought returned to the Outer Rim colonies, Ilara stood on the bridge looking at the stars. "The Council will remember this," she said quietly. "They will fear us, but more importantly, they will see that we endure. One ship, one crew, has begun a change that cannot be undone." Jarek placed a hand on her shoulder. "Do you think they understand yet?" Ilara shook her head. "They are beginning to, but understanding is not enough. They must respect us. And respect we will earn, through action, through endurance, and through the human spirit." The raid on the Council outpost was only the beginning. Humanity had shown the galaxy that exile had not broken them. On the contrary, it had forged them into something stronger, smarter, and more determined than ever before. Across the stars, in the council chambers, delegates whispered in fear and awe. Humans were no longer just an exiled species. They were a force to be reckoned with, a threat that could not be predicted, and a reminder that the universe often underestimated those who refused to give up. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Panic and disbelief rippled through the chambers as reports arrived from the Outer Rim. Humanity, the exiled species they had dismissed for decades, had struck boldly, disabled outposts, and defended colonies, with ingenuity that no one could predict. "Extermination is no longer an option," said Chancellor Varos, his wings drooping with frustration. "They are clever, coordinated, and unpredictable. A fleet cannot crush them without severe losses. We underestimated them, and now we face the consequences." Delegate Tirok slammed a clawed hand on the table. "Then what do we do? Negotiate? These humans are dangerous. One ship, one dreadnought. It has already changed the balance of power. We cannot ignore this threat." "Negotiate or perish," muttered Delegate Vorn. "We need a plan that does not underestimate their intelligence. They are not just survivors. They are innovators, strategists, and they fight differently than any species we know." Meanwhile, humanity was far from idle. The Resolute had returned to the colonies, and Ilara Tanis convened her officers in the command center. "Reports indicate multiple fleets are mobilizing," Mara said, her fingers flying over the navigation console. "They want to overwhelm us before we grow stronger. Several sectors are being reinforced." Ilara frowned. "Let them come. We are ready. Humans fight with strategy, not recklessness. We will show them the difference between a human crew and..." A predictable alien fleet. Jarek leaned over the tactical map. They could strike any colony, but if we anticipate their moves and use terrain, speed, and ingenuity, we can defend everything and more. They will not predict our tactics because no other species fights like humans. Exactly, Alara said. Prepare defensive positions at every colony. Use asteroid fields, ice belts, and orbital anomalies to our advantage. And keep the Resolute at the spearhead. We fight smart, precise, and coordinated. The humans worked tirelessly. Colonies reinforced orbital shields, deployed automated defense grids, and hidden mines were placed in strategic locations. Engineers modified weapons and engines for maximum adaptability. Humans trained constantly, running simulations and practicing unconventional tactics. Every preparation reflected one core principle: humans would survive, no matter what. Days later, the EAO Council fleets arrived. They advanced in calculated formations, confident that sheer numbers would overwhelm humanity. But humans had anticipated every step. The first engagement took place near an asteroid belt. 5 alien ships moved into position, ready to strike. The Resolute emerged from the shadows of massive rocks, engines flaring unpredictably. Humans launched decoys and jammed sensors, causing the alien ships to fire blindly. Now, Alara ordered. Cannons fired, striking critical points on alien hulls. Within moments, 2 ships were disabled, their weapons offline. The remaining 3 retreated, stunned by tactics they could not predict. Impressive, Mara said, scanning for additional threats. They did not expect that maneuver. Humans are not predictable, Alara said. We adapt, we learn, and we endure. Word of the humans' success spread quickly. Colonies under threat saw humans defeating larger fleets with smaller numbers. Each victory reinforced the legend. Humanity, though exiled, could not be destroyed. But the Council would not give up so easily. They planned a massive ambush, concentrating more than 10 ships against the Resolute. They believed overwhelming firepower would crush the human Dreadnought in a single engagement. Alara's crew received the intelligence and studied the fleet. They think brute force will win, she said, a glint of determination in her eyes. They do not understand human ingenuity. Do we have a plan? Jarek asked, already preparing tactical simulations. Alara smiled faintly. We fight smarter. The ambush will be their downfall, not ours. We lure them into a trap, let them think they have the advantage, and then we strike where they least expect it. The humans deployed false transmissions, simulating weaknesses and vulnerabilities. They left decoy colonies exposed, baiting the Council ships into a carefully constructed kill zone near an ice asteroid field. When the Council fleet arrived, they fell for it completely. The Resolute emerged suddenly, twisting through the ice, belts, dodging fire with unpredictable maneuvers. Mines hidden in asteroids detonated at precisely calculated intervals, damaging engines and shields of the alien ships. Fire on my mark, Alara commanded. The Dreadnought's cannons struck in rapid, accurate sequences. Hulls cracked, engines exploded, and alien ships were disabled faster than their crews could comprehend. Within minutes, 5 of the 10 ships were neutralized, their attack rendered ineffective. Jarek watched in awe. They never expected this. They never saw it coming. That is human strength, Alara said. We are not strongest because we have numbers. We are strongest because we fight differently. We endure, we adapt, and we overcome. The remaining alien ships retreated, damaged and demoralized. Humanity had proven once again that ingenuity, strategy, and courage could defeat brute force. Across the outer rim, exiled humans cheered silently, knowing that their species could survive, could thrive, and could demand respect. Back at the Council, panic became urgent chaos. Delegates argued violently. We underestimated them. Varos shouted. We cannot risk another engagement. We must reassess our approach. Negotiate, Tirok screamed. They are smarter, more resilient, and unlike any species we know. We cannot fight them with old tactics. Vorn shook his head. Negotiation will only delay the inevitable. They fight with intelligence, creativity, and unity. They will not be contained. They are unstoppable in ways we cannot calculate. Meanwhile, Ilara knew the humans had achieved something remarkable. Each victory strengthened morale, each engagement proved their resilience, and every calculation showed that humans could overcome impossible odds. "We have proven ourselves," she told her crew, "not just to the Council, but to all of humanity. They thought exile would break us. They thought scarcity and isolation would weaken our spirit. They were wrong. Humans endure." Mara approached, holding a holographic display. "Captain, scouts report reinforcements from distant sectors. They will attempt a second ambush, but our preparations are in place. We can handle it." Ilara nodded. "Then let them come. They will face not just the Resolute, but humanity itself. Every colony, every crew, every engineer and pilot stands ready. This is who we are." The second ambush was a test of endurance. Humans used every advantage the terrain provided: asteroid fields, gravitational anomalies, and hidden energy nets. They fought with precision, disabling engines, shields, and weapons of alien ships systematically. Even when outnumbered, humans adapted, learning from every shot fired, every maneuver attempted. Hours later, the Council fleet withdrew, battered and demoralized. The outer rim was safe for now, but humanity had proven a critical point. Strategy, adaptability, and courage could overcome raw numbers. Back at the colonies, celebrations were quiet but profound. Children and adults alike recognized the truth that exile could not erase. Humanity was resilient, clever, and unstoppable when united. The Resolute had become a symbol, a promise, and a spearhead for the species' resurgence. Ilara stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars beyond. "The Council fears us," she said softly. "They are learning slowly that humans are not simple, predictable, or weak. They thought they had banished us. They thought we could be contained. They were wrong." Jarek joined her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "And now they know, Captain. They know that one Dreadnought and one determined crew can change the galaxy's perception of humanity." Ilara smiled faintly. "One Dreadnought, yes. But it is not just the ship. It is every human who survived exile, every mind that solved a problem, every hand that built, fought, or endured. That is what makes us formidable. That is what makes us unstoppable." Across the stars, the Council grappled with a terrifying truth. Humans, though exiled and underestimated, had proven that they could fight with intelligence, creativity, and unity. The galaxy had misjudged them for decades, and the consequences of that misjudgment were just beginning to unfold. Humanity was no longer just surviving exile. Humanity was rising. The galaxy had changed. Humanity, once dismissed and exiled, had proven that exile could not break them. Through ingenuity, strategy, and the unparalleled human spirit, the Resolute had become a symbol, a spearhead of resilience that could not be ignored. The Galactic Council, shaken and fearful, struggled to contain a species they had once considered weak. Chancellor Veros paced in the council chamber, his wings drooping with exhaustion. "They are everywhere. Colonies are fortified. Fleets are coordinated, and they fight with precision and creativity that we cannot predict. How do we negotiate with such a species?" Delegate Tirok shook his head. "Perhaps negotiation is the only option. They are not reckless. They are intelligent, disciplined, and united. Extermination would cost more than we can afford." "Negotiate?" Varos hissed. "They have destroyed our outposts, crippled fleets, and humiliated us. Negotiation requires respect, and respect must be earned. They are humans, unpredictable, cunning, and resilient. We have underestimated them for too long." Far beyond the council chambers, the Resolute moved silently through space. Its engines pulsed with quiet power as it carried Ilara and her crew toward the heart of the galaxy, the council's central station. "This is it," Ilara said, her eyes fixed on the massive structure ahead. "We will not strike recklessly, but we will make our presence known. The council must see what humans are capable of, and they must acknowledge us." Jarek leaned over the tactical console. The station is heavily defended. Do we have a plan to avoid unnecessary bloodshed? Ilara smiled faintly. Yes. We demonstrate our strength, not through destruction but through precision. Disable communications, cut their reinforcements, and position ourselves where they cannot ignore us. Let them feel our power and understand our purpose. The crew moved with quiet efficiency. Mara plotted the approach through asteroid belts and gravitational anomalies, ensuring that no Council fleet could easily intercept them. Engineers optimized the Dreadnought's shields and weapons for calculated demonstrations rather than annihilation. Every action reflected humanity's intelligence and restraint. As the Resolute approached the central station, alarms blared across the Council network. Delegates stared in disbelief as sensors revealed the presence of the human Dreadnought. Panic swept through the chamber. They are here, Varos muttered. They have come to the heart of the Council. How is this possible? Ilara issued orders calmly. Deploy targeted pulses to disable their communications. Keep defensive shields up. No one is to fire unless provoked. The station's systems flickered and went silent. Communication arrays failed, leaving the Council isolated. Panic turned to confusion, then to fear, as humans positioned the Resolute, in orbit, a silent sentinel above the Council. Varos banged a claw on the table. How do we respond? They are not attacking, yet they control the situation entirely. Delegate Tirok spoke cautiously. Perhaps we can negotiate. They have proven strength, intelligence, and restraint. If we concede to their terms, we may avoid further conflict. Ilara activated a long-range communicator. Her voice was calm, firm, and deliberate. Chancellor Varos, delegates of the Council, we have come to demonstrate one truth. Humanity survives. Humanity endures. We are no longer exiled, dismissed, or underestimated. We fight with intelligence, strategy, and unity. We are prepared to defend ourselves, but we do not seek unnecessary destruction. A murmur spread through the Council chamber. Delegates whispered among themselves, shocked that a single ship could deliver such a message so clearly. Ilara continued, her eyes steady. Exile did not break us. Scarcity did not weaken us. Threats did not intimidate us. And yet, we have fought only when necessary, always seeking to preserve life, always striving for survival and dignity. Recognize humanity. Recognize our colonies. Recognize our right to stand among the stars. This is your choice. Acknowledge us, or face consequences that cannot be undone. Varos swallowed, his mind racing. They are reasonable, he admitted, reluctantly, and brilliant. Their strategies have outclassed our fleets, their courage has outshone our soldiers, and their endurance is unmatched. What do we offer? Ilara waited, silent but unwavering. A place at the table, a voice in the Council, recognition for our people, respect earned through resilience, intelligence, and unity. That is all we ask. The Council debated in hushed tones. Some delegates argued for further resistance, claiming that humans were still exiles who could not be trusted. Others recognized the truth. They had underestimated humanity for centuries. Now they could see what humans were capable of, and it was undeniable. A single species, united and resilient, had turned exile into power. Finally, Varos spoke, his voice heavy with resignation. We acknowledge humanity. Your exile is lifted. Your colonies are recognized, and you may take your place in the Council as equals. Let this be a lesson. To all species, do not underestimate humans. Ilara allowed herself a rare smile. Thank you. That is all we ask. The Resolute remained in orbit for a few more hours, ensuring that the Council's acknowledgement was formalized and that no hidden fleets could challenge the humans' position. Across the outer rim, colonies erupted in quiet celebration. Humanity had not only survived exile, they had reclaimed their place in the galaxy. Jarek turned to Ilara. We did it. Humanity is whole again. Ilara nodded. Yes, but remember this. Our survival was never about revenge. It was about endurance, strategy, and proving that humans cannot be underestimated. Let this be a warning to anyone who doubts us in the future. And let it be a lesson to ourselves. We are capable of greatness even in the harshest circumstances. The Resolute became more than a ship. It became a symbol. Across star systems, humans and aliens alike would remember the exiles who rose from punishment to prominence, not through mindless aggression, but through ingenuity, courage, and relentless determination. Ilara walked through the corridors of the Dreadnought, watching her crew quietly return to routines, some smiling, others focused. Humanity had won not because of weapons alone, but because of creativity, intelligence, and the ability to endure when all odds seemed impossible. In the following weeks, humans integrated into the Council with dignity. They participated in decisions, trade, and diplomacy. Other species, once dismissive, approached with caution and respect. Humanity had proven itself not through fear, but through action that demonstrated their brilliance and resilience. And yet, even as humans settled into their new place among the stars, Ilara knew that vigilance was essential. The galaxy was vast, and challenges would always arise. But humanity had learned a critical truth. No force, no council, no exile could suppress the human spirit. Looking out at the stars from the observation deck, Ilara whispered to herself, "We were exiled. But exile forged us. We were underestimated, but we proved them wrong. Humanity survives, humanity endures, and humanity will always rise." The Resolute stood ready, engines glowing softly, a sentinel for the species that had faced exile and emerged stronger. It was a warning to all who might doubt humans again, and a promise to every human that no matter the challenge, they could endure, adapt, and triumph. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated. Their exile had been broken not by diplomacy alone, not by surrender, but by courage, ingenuity, and the indomitable spirit of a single Dreadnought's crew. Humanity had returned to the stars, not as exiles, but as equals, respected, feared when necessary, and forever resilient.